excessively dependent on anybody, so that nobody can misuse our dependence. For instance, what was happening? You see, prior to 2004, we were relatively in a comfortable position, uh, because and especially during those 3 4 years of Atal Bihari Vajpayee's regime, uh, during which our balance of payment had turned into a surplus.
Hmm.
We didn't have the deficit in the balance of payment. The
जी.
reason being, we were not importing too many commodities, though we were having balance of trade deficit, but that balance of trade deficit uh, had been overwhelmed by the uh, surplus in the services. So we were having surplus in the balance of payment, and therefore we didn't have to think much about our dependence or extra dependence on the rest of the world. But what happened in the post 2004 situation, that our policymakers really didn't appreciate the challenges which were being posed by Chinese by dumping their products in the Indian markets. And in fact, what happened in 2001, China became member of the WTO,
Capt.
and uh, since then, what they did, they in fact, why did they join WTO later? Because they were really making their strategies how to really capture the world market. And so when they entered WTO, they thought that yes, nobody will question our commodities coming at a cheaper price, and we will keep on dumping our products in the rest of the world. And what they did, it was not happening only in India; it was
Hmm.
happening elsewhere too, like in US, in the Europe, everywhere. The Chinese were, dumping their products. They couldn't do much in Japan, I believe, but generally in most of the countries they were doing this tactic, and in they were having a sur- surplus with 130 countries. That means 130 countries had deficit with China
Hmm.
in trade.
Hmm.
So though we were uh, uh, having sufficient safeguards in WTO, that we could impose anti-dumping duties, we could raise tariffs, and in fact, if we look at the tariff structure, we find that uh, we have bound rate of tariff at say 40% on an average, and what we were doing is that we were hardly imposing less than 10% average tariff. Uh,
Hmm.
so what happened? Our industry could not withstand the competition coming from China, not because the Chinese products were more efficiently produced, but for
Hmm.
the reason that they were extra subsidizing their products. So in China, no producer can sell their products directly to the international market. They have to route it through the PSUs, and PSUs would subsidize, and that subsidy would be financed by the Chinese government, both the provincial governments as well as the Chinese federal government. So what happened in all these years, that our industry could not withstand the competition, and therefore almost all types of industries, you see, we had been very proud of our uh, pharmaceutical industry, though
Hmm.
we are producing a lot of pharmaceutical even today, and we had been able to and even during this pandemic, we have been selling and sending a lot of medicines to the rest of the world. 100 countries have got benefited because of our exports, and we were exporting to 200 countries. But our pharmaceutical sector suffered because of the dumping made by China, especially in APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and and they started selling the APIs at less than half of the price.
Yeah.
And they had to close. So there was a time when 90% of the APIs were produced by us. Today is a time when we are producing hardly 10%. So 90% we are dependent on China. And China started, as they are doing right now, even during this pandemic, they are exploiting the international markets, and the international community is very much annoyed with China because of their exploitation tactics. But this is their habit, and this is what they do. So they increase the price of folic acid by 13 times. They increase the price of amoxicillin API by about 3 times, and so on. So our pharmaceutical industry, API industry, was suffering. Our electronics and telecom couldn't even take off because we were the world leader in software, but we were hardly anywhere in hardware. And the reason was that the electronics and telecom material coming from China, uh, in fact, really didn't allow us to really uh, establish our industry in any big way. We do have telecom companies, we do have the electronics, but still we feel that they are only up to the level of R&D and others. They are actually not able to have the mass production of electronic products. And you see in terms of the mobile phones and other, nothing. We are not producing anything. And in fact, in 2012, an effort was made by some people that yes, we should have a procurement policy for electronics, but that also didn't work because the regime then was not very friendly to the domestic production. And in fact, I would say that the period from 2004 to 2014 was very unfriendly to the Indian domestic production, because the government then didn't allow the domestic production to really take off, and they kept the tariff rates low uh, deliberately, and in fact reduced the tariff rates. At many point of time, we see that tariff rates were deliberately reduced to to encourage imports. And what happened? Because of that reason, our trade deficit, which I was telling you, the trade deficit was very low before 2004, and but after that, the trade deficit, uh, in fact, started increasing in leaps and bounds. And there was a time when our trade deficit had increased to nearly $200 billion. And even till recently, it was $165 billion. And then of late, it is around $140 billion. So this is a very big trade deficit.
Yeah.
And for that reason, we to make up for the deficiency in the foreign exchange. Obviously, when your trade deficit is more, you need more foreign exchange. From where you will be getting the foreign exchange then? So you have to have FDI. You have to have FPIs. You 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 have to sell your assets, because foreigners will come and purchase your assets. Then they will give you the foreign exchange, and you can spend that. But that is not going to serve the purpose, because ultimately, uh, will it end? कहाँ खत्म होगा ये सारा? So, in fact, in the last budget which Chidambaram presented, he very honestly conceded one thing, that FDI, FII, and ECB, external commercial borrowing, is no longer a matter of choice. It is no longer a matter of choice, it's a matter of compulsion. The
Yeah.
reason being that we need foreign exchange, therefore we need them. So,
Yeah.
therefore, if you say that FDI and FPIs, etc., are part of the government policy to develop the country, it is a misnomer. It is wrong altogether, because it is because of the dependence of the country on the rest of the world. Now, There were policymakers. In fact, it is very unfortunate that the new regime which came after 2014 under Narendra Modi ji, he also, found uh, a, a consultant in the form of those who were actually uh, uh, of the opinion that free trade is the only option, and we should we should keep on having free trade, lower tariffs, and so on. And so he invited Arvind Panagaria, and he kept on, suggesting those things with ranging from, say, lower tariffs, uh, having uh, land reforms, the labor reforms, and so on and so forth. So, but uh, the government realized this problem of trade deficit and excessive dependence on the rest of the world, especially China, only of late. I think if I go back, it was in 2018 February that the government uh, came out with a proposal uh, in the budget that yes, we should raise tariffs to reduce our dependence on the rest of the world, especially China, for electronics and mobile phones. And they raised tariffs on mobile phones from 10% to 20%. And that changed the scenario. Now, mobile phones were not coming from China directly. They started establishing their production units here. And Oppo and others, they started producing mobile phones in India because we had raised tariffs. But that is also not a very good scenario. So what we have to do is, uh, when I say APIs, when I say uh, mobile phones, electronics, telecom equipments, and so on, we can do it because we had been doing it. And like in case of 5G, people were making case for bringing in Huawei for establishing 5G network. We said no, it shouldn't be the case. We should not allow Huawei to come in first because it would increase our dependence on China. Secondly, it has strategic issues and several other issues. And thirdly, very important fact is that our industry can produce. And in fact, when I talked to telecom industry, they said we have uh, patents for 5G, 6G, and next gen equipment. So there is no dearth of talent in the country. We can do it. And so what I'm saying is, and in the process, our chemical industry, uh, they also suffered because of the dumping, and our chemical industry has been working at much less than their installed capacity. Even our well-established steel industry suffered because of the dumping from China, and several others. Uh, our toys, our household goods, everything was coming from China. So this is now the time. We understand that we can do it. We were producing APIs ourselves. We can produce now. We can produce our telecom and electronics. We already have established capacities in chemical industry. We already have established capacity in machinery, in automobiles, everything. So what you have to do is you raise tariffs. Even when USA can raise tariffs, those who were the front runners in WTO, when they can raise tariffs, when they can invoke the trade war, why can't we? And today मौका भी है और दस्तूर भी, क्योंकि now everybody is against China. Nobody is is favoring China. Everybody is saying that they have put us in this, whether it is a conspiracy or not, it doesn't make any difference. If they hide their facts from the rest of the world, that is enough reason for boycotting China. And I take pride in saying that we were the first ones in the country to have started a campaign against China, uh, to boycott China. And if you remember, in the last 4 or 5 years, boycott China is a slogan which everybody appreciates. No, I hardly find anybody who says no, 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 you should not boycott China. Only thing they say is that we can't do it. We don't have the capacity. China is producing at a cheaper rate and this and that. But I must tell you, it is not the efficiency of China. It is not the lower cost of China. It is the dumping of China, dumping by China, which is increasing the imports from China and the trade deficit with China. And in fact, when government started doing it, our in-house research have shown it clearly depicts that when we imposed anti-dumping duties, you know, uh, in when you were imposing anti-dumping duties on 140 items, 100 were Chinese. We raised tariffs and we made other efforts like invoking standards, invoking reciprocity clause against the Chinese companies, and all that. This has actually led to reduction in the trade deficit with China in just 1 year. When the trade deficit with China was increasing by $10 billion every year, when we started our campaign from 2017-18, it was $63 billion of trade deficit with China. In 2018-19, it came down to $53 billion. $10 billion trade deficit was reduced. So on the one hand, the trade deficit which was increasing came down. So actually, the country benefited by $20 billion, and this process is continuing. The government is very sensitized, and during this pandemic, the government has got even more sensitized. And when I made a tweet that how come HDFC stake has been purchased by Chinese Bank, People's Bank of China, government immediately responded within 2 days and changed the FDI rules and said yes, now it will no longer be the automatic route. In automatic route, they can simply walk in and purchase assets. When you change it to the government approval routes, it has to go through the government approval. It has to go to the government. It has to go to the minister, and minister can always say no, we don't want. So, so this is what I feel with your question. That what should we do right now in this pandemic? So I say मौका भी है और दस्तूर भी. एक धक्का और दो, Chinese wall तोड़ दो.
Mana, you've made a compelling case, Ashwani ji. Fact of the matter, as you've said, that continuous and ongoing support over decades to Chinese industry by the Chinese government has enabled them to arrive at a particular scale and dominance in world markets in key areas where we ourselves have capability. Fact of the matter, however, is कि अगर फर्ज कीजिए कि आज we are sensitized, the government is sensitized, and guard is up. Nobody could have said it better. मौका भी है, दस्तूर भी है, और पूरी दुनिया में यही आलम है. मगर सवाल ये उठता है that when we look at our own capacity and capability, हमने टेलीकॉम की बात करी, सालों से जिक्र है, खैर चीजें इतनी बदल भी जाती हैं, that we should have a fab, etc. ये तो अब इतना hackneyed हो गया है. But what is it that you believe we are going to need to do? Because from the perspective both of domestic consumption, as well as from our ability to flourish in export markets, there are efficiencies of scale that are needed and that are not fully present, whether we take it from the perspective of infrastructure deficiency, or there are cases made for further and further simplification of taxation. And again, I'm using motherhood statements, जो आपके साथ use करने में मुझे उचित नहीं लगता, but anyway. And equally, you know, the complexity of being able to manage what is actually a competitive advantage, मगर वो जमघट बन जाता है, which is our federal structure. You know, different states, some states are certainly more efficient, some states have the bigger consumer markets, so on and so forth. तो इस सब को रखते हुए, if we have to consider particularly the small and medium enterprise, what is it that we can do to actually leave China aside? China से हमको एक opportunity है, हमारी अपनी market इतनी बड़ी है कि export को एक मिनट अलग भी छोड़ दें हम. What do we need to do? What are the 4 or 5 आप नेम कीजिए कि सबसे बड़े bottlenecks आपके हिसाब से क्या है? You have said we have the capacity, we have the talent, you mentioned we have the patents. So what is it that we need if we are able to stem the Chinese dumping? 3 या 4 सबसे मुश्किल चीजें unrelated to China क्या होंगी हमारे देश में?
You see, what you are saying is all right. But what has happened all these years is that we have really not given any consideration to develop our manufacturing in the country. This is true up to 2014. Our ease of doing business could not improve. We know we were at 142nd position. We didn't, as I mentioned earlier, we didn't make any effort to improve our manufacturing of telecom and electronics. We ignored the less than capacity utilization in several industries because of the Chinese dumping. We hardly imposed anti-dumping duties on Chinese products. We didn't make any efforts on the infrastructure side. We find the speed of making roads up to 2004, but after that the speed had gone very slow, very, very slow. I have written a number of articles on this, that the infrastructure was very, very slow in the country, and we were taking pride in saying that many multinational companies are coming into India because of our big domestic market, because of the size of our middle class, and so on and so forth. So we were taking pride. So we should have been ashamed of this. That despite having a large middle class, despite having a big domestic market, we are not able to produce goods which are required by ourselves. When the country was going in for telecom revolution, and we are the largest users of or second largest users of the smartphones and data services. But what is our contribution? The government's contribution in making mobile phones? Zero. So policy is very important. So what Narendra Modi did immediately after coming to power, he said, yes, we should have Make in India. So Make in India had 2 aspects: come and make in India, and second was let us make in India. So as Swadeshi Jagannath, we were against come and make in India. That is, MNCs come and make in India, we were against that. So we were favoring the let us make in India, that is made by India. And for that, obviously you require, it's not for the foreigners that you need ease of doing business. This is more important for our domestic players.
बिल्कुल. Right.
And we were able to do that. If you look at the ease of doing business, uh, components of ease of doing business, we have done well in several. But I think one of the most important thing in which we could not do much because of our lack of judicial reforms is the implementation of contracts.
Yes.
So in contracts implementation, we are very low in international ranking, and that is pushing our uh, uh, ease of doing business low. And still we are on 63rd position today. We moved from 142nd to 63rd position. Uh, yes, we are doing a lot of things in infrastructure today. Electricity, you have 24 hours electricity supply in most of the places, and wherever it is not happening, it is not because of the deficiency in the supply of electricity. It is because of the distribution problems. And again, that is because of the, as you have rightly mentioned, that some states are doing well, some states are not doing well. So, because of the distribution problems of the states, we are facing the problem of electricity supply. But so far as the availability of electricity is concerned, the production of electricity is concerned, we are surplus in electricity today. Because of the good policy of LED bulbs and energy efficient equipments, we could reduce the consumption of electricity both in and it is reducing electricity consumption not in terms of inefficiencies, but rather bringing in efficiency and reducing it, and make the electricity available for our electricity our transportation, for agriculture, for household consumption, for industry, everything. So I feel there is no look back now. We have to, um, and this is a challenge. And um, countries always work efficiently. They move ahead whenever there is a challenge. And today we have a challenge. The challenge of self-reliance, challenge of domestic production, the challenge of reducing dependence on the rest of the world, the challenge of providing employment to our youth, challenge of uh, uh, making use of our demographic dividend, which is going to recede after 2042. We have 22 years, and you see, I always say that in uh, every challenge or every crisis,
There is an opportunity.
you have a silver line. Every cloud has a silver line, you say. So we can do, because now rest of the world is also ready to help you. Otherwise, American companies, Japanese companies, once Japanese trade negotiator in RCEP came to meet me. He said, "Why don't you join RCEP? Why are you opposing RCEP? You should tell government to join RCEP. It's very good." I told him, "Okay, you tell me how it is good for me." No, he says, "No, it's good for Japan because we are too much engaged in China." So I told him, "If it is good for you, you go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. You are a sovereign nation. You can go ahead." No, no, no. You should also join. So we told him we can't join. And in after 3 days, I read the news that Japan has also withdrawn. No, today the the whole world is coming to you because you have the youth, you have the talent, you have the skills, and you there is no other country in the world which can house so many companies. You see, when trade war started, some US companies started shifting to Vietnam. Okay, they have special relationship with Vietnam, they went up. But today, they are not going to Vietnam. They are coming to Yogi ji, they are coming to Narendra Modi, they are going to different other state governments and authorities that they want to shift here. About 1,000 companies have come. As Swadeshi Jagamut, we have always been opposing the entry of multinational corporations. But now, in these special circumstances, we know that when we opened the entry of Indian and foreign companies, we started giving. In fact, we lifted the licensing provisions, and license quota Raj was finished, and then automobile industry came in. Today, out of the total manufacturing, automobile has 50% share. 50% of our manufacturing comes from automobiles. And had our electronic and telecom developed here, so our share of manufacturing in GDP would have been more than 25%. But we missed that bus. But today, the bus has come again. They are all coming here, and once these production and the state of art technology comes here, and then the spillover effects are there, and spillover benefits are there. They will come, they will ask for various services, they will ask for, today when we look at automobile companies, they are procuring so many kinds of parts from within India. So a lot of small scale industries working.
Yes.
Small scale industry is working for the automobile sector. So we have a lot of opportunities today, and I think we are on the right path of ease of doing business, infrastructure, electricity supply, availability of other benefits, and the government is also very receptive to the ideas. And Prime Minister app is asking for more and more and more of ideas. Thank God we are not having Prime Minister in the form of Rahul Gandhi, because or anybody else who don't have any idea of what to do under these circumstances. Yes, I though we are many times we are critical of the government on various policies, and we keep criticizing, and we keep openly stating or telling the government that this is good and this is not good. But I think overall policy of the government, overall approach of the government in all these spheres, ease of doing business, like Make in India, startup, digitization, and the boost which is being given to the industry, and the receptiveness to the ideas, it's all in the right direction. I think future is ours.
Wonderfully said. I'm going to raise a couple of issues that you raised and request your perspective. Aapke paas time. Ashwini ji, I've stopped seeing you on the screen.
I'm not getting you.
I see AM, but I don't see you, which is okay. मैं असल में notes लेने में इतनी busy थी कि मैं I didn't. Do you think? Could you check? Maybe it's on account of a weaker signal. But I'm
not getting you.
मैं कह रही कि आपकी I can't see the video. I see your initials. कहीं ये कैमरा तो नहीं ऑफ हो गया आपका?
नहीं कैमरा तो ऑन है. मैं I can see my picture.
Okay, I can see only AM. और कुछ टाइम हो गया है. आप मुझे देख पा रहे हैं?
हाँ, मैं आपको देख पा रहा हूँ, और मेरी तस्वीर सामने दिखाई दे रही है मुझे.
अब यही तो, आपको ना दिखाई दे तो ठीक है, मुझे दिखाई नहीं. अच्छा, तो let it be. Let us not, the youngsters will get upset with us for not having a recording, because मैं ना दिखूं, that is okay. But you must be visible. I will send a quick message if I may.
Can you see me?
Nahi ji, I can only see a circle in which it says AM.
Okay.
Koi nahi. Sometimes, you know, if the signal is a bit weak, it may be switching automatically.
Maybe.
Let me just call. Ame, I'm unable to see Ashwini ji on the video for the last 10-15 minutes. He has not switched his video off. Just requesting you to see if you can, because it's his recording that is important. I can't. I can hear him very clearly. हाँ जी, मैं नजर आ रही हूँ उनको. Acha, okay. So, okay, let's. Ashwini ji, if you move your mouse over the screen, आप telephone पे हैं जी के laptop पे हैं?
टेलीफोन पर.
तो जरा वो उसको हिलाएं तो वो एक कोई menus है.
हाँ.
There's a menu which comes where there is a little camera icon. वो तो नहीं क्रॉस हुआ हो गया बाय.
टर्न ऑफ इनकमिंग वीडियो लिखा हुआ है. नहीं मतलब ऐसा नहीं है. वो इनकमिंग वीडियो टर्न ऑफ के लिए कह रहा है, लेकिन वो तो नहीं है. और वो मैंने वो किया तो आपका ऑफ हो गया. टर्न ऑन द इनकमिंग वीडियो, बट माय वीडियो इज ऑन. What are they saying? How is it getting recorded? My video is getting recorded or not?
Amit, can you check recording? उनकी आवाज तो आ रही है, but is there a way to check at the back end? I'll continue with the conversation because I don't want to, I've already ruined the concentration by asking this question, but I'll just to check at the back end कि शायद दिख रहा है, वो नजर आ रहे हैं कि क्या है. हाँ जी, please. Okay, thank you. जी, sorry. Continue. वो पीछे से देख रहे हैं. You know, अब तो खैर मैं कह रही थी कि दूर भले कमरे के एक कोने में बैठ के one could have actually had this discussion face to face post Monday, but anyhow, so you've raised the issue. You said that we did not give due consideration for manufacturing to develop, and a lot of things have changed. मैं 2-3 specific issues raise करूंगी just to get your perspective, ji. What was most interesting was you said that these are special circumstances, and whilst the Manch has always opposed FDI, you recognize that what happened in auto, as long as it is carefully done, there are spillover benefits, and small scale industry, the ancillary around it has been able to develop. The transfer of technology has happened, but clearly it must be done in a nuanced way. ये नहीं कि आंख बंद कर दी और बोला कि come one, come all. But I want to draw your attention, sir, to 2 elements. You said ease of doing business has become easier. The specific point on labor, sir. As a country with no categorical and clear social security blanket for our population, our need to secure employment, and there is so much change that has happened, I am aware, and again some states are leading the way in there on that count, but our need to protect employment faces off sometimes against the need for companies, particularly smaller businesses, to have flexibility in the use of technology, in the manner in which they will hire and keep labor. And I know कि गड़बड़ इंडस्ट्री ने सालों से इस मामले में बहुत करी है, but how do we build this balance in an optimal way? Because that kind of flexibility is important. Yet at the same time, we have to protect employment for our labor. So how do you envisage being able to do that?
First of all, let me come back to the to my position on the MNCs coming into the automobile sector and
Gee.
you know uh, improving the ecosystem over there. It was not just MNCs. In fact, a lot of Indian companies, they were competing and still competing, and they have a big market share. May it be Tata or even Maruti was half Indian only uh, most of the time. Now it has the shares have been diluted, but Mahindra is there. So in two-wheelers segment and three-wheeler segment, a lot of Indian companies have been there, and the MNCs which they came, uh, they were brought with the condition that yes, you will be procuring from within India.
Yes.
So you know the domestic content requirement is very important.
Yes.
That when you come, you the spillover effect will take place only if you have these requirements. In this
Yes.
case, when new companies are trying to come into India, now we need to put other condition, that is exports. That you come here, but you are not being brought to sell in the Indian markets. You are being brought in to uh, cater to the export needs, because what we need to do is to increase exports.
Gee,
What companies are doing in China, 55% of the Chinese exports are from these companies. So we want to take the benefit which China had, and that's the reason why we are saying yes. If domestic content requirement one, export condition two, and third, that they should not ask for any royalties, because in 2009 UPA government brought a very bad rule in which they were allowed to increase the outflow of royalties, and today we are paying through our nose, like nearly $20 billion are being sent out in the royalties and technical fees. Now, coming to this point, that yes, you say the labor reforms. Normally, people ask us why government is not doing labor reforms of hire and fire. In fact, if you look at the labor laws, uh, as a student of economics, I have been reading and doing a lot of research on this. I do not find even a single case that any industry is suffering because of the lack of reforms in the labor laws. Uh, since labor laws are protective to the laborers, but uh, in 2002 there was a report, uh, uh, second labor commission, and in that uh, even our mm, Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, which is an associate organization of Swadeshi Jagar Manch and a part of RSS system, uh, BMS favored a separate labor laws for small scale industries, and this is different from any other labor union. In fact, all communist and even Congress labor union never came out with this idea of having a different labor law for the small scale industry, more relaxed. Now, the kind of requirements which are there, the labor officer, labor inspector, and this and that. So we wanted these labor laws to be relaxed for the MSMEs. In fact, that would be in favor of labor only, because today what is happening in the MSMEs, all works are being awarded on the through contracts, and contract labor is and contract labor is not having any social security of any kind, and the contractors, they make money, and labor is being exploited, and the labor doesn't have uh, any kind of mm, uh, uh, any kind of, what you say,
Protection.
no, protection is obviously protection is not there, and labor is unattached to the industry. Whether industry goes away, whether they are able to sell, whether they make profit or they lose, labor is not at all concerned. They don't have any affection with the industry. So, if you want to increase the attachment of labor with the industry, obviously you need to provide them with the uh, with the with a permanent position or a continuous uh, continuous work.
Yeah.
And many friends of mine who are running their industry in the small scale sector, they always say that we want to hire labor on a regular basis, but because of the labor laws, we are not able to do it. And Swadeshi Jagan Manch, BMS, all are of the opinion that yes, there should be separate labor laws for the MSMEs. But what is happening is, when we say that you can have different labor laws, we tell the bureaucrats that okay, you bring separate labor laws. They say no, we don't want to do it unless you accept the change in the definition of MSMEs. We tell them what is the link between the definition of MSMEs and the labor laws, but they are not ready to do it. You see, these I sometimes I find that the bureaucracy is coming in a big way in judicious reforms. Whenever if you tell them that okay, we are going to make these changes for the big industry, they will welcome it immediately. They will issue the ordinance. But when it comes to the MSMEs, small scale people, they are not so helpful.
And what Majra kya hai ji? Ye aapki, what is the change in the definition that they expect?
MSME definition, they are saying, actually till date the definition is based on the cost of plant and machinery. Up to a particular level, it is called micro. After that level, it will be called small scale. After that level, it will be called medium, and so on. So it is based on the plant and machinery. They want to change it to the turnover. The reason being is why they want to change it to the turnover, because in that case, industrialists can become traders, and they need not have any production. So if somebody is at this level of turnover, he will be treated as micro. If it goes beyond it, it is treated as small scale, and up to this level, it will remain small scale. But so they will be getting all the benefit of the industry, but whether they produce it or not doesn't make any difference. So we are against that, this change in the definition, because it will go against the spirit of the law of promoting small scale industry in the country. So we don't want to promote traders, we want to promote industry, and that's why we say we should give up this alphabet E and bring it I instead. You see, MSM, it should be I, not E. When you say enterprise could be whether industry or trading house. It doesn't make any difference. So we don't want E to be there. And secondly, we don't want we want MS, not M. Last time we don't want. We want micro, small industry. We don't want to include medium industry, because medium industry form only 0.1% of the total MSMEs, but they take away larger part of the benefit which are assigned to the small scale industry.
Okay, thank you. That was, thank you. मेरे को अंदाजा नहीं था इस बात का. Thank you. अब अगर आप देखें that if we, for example, you've raised certain elements, I have I continue to be concerned, but on infrastructure, let us plan a separate discussion with you. I think that will also be very interesting, because in the area of ports, etc., because I think that the opportunity in world markets, हमारी खुद की market काफी है हमारे लिए, but why only that? And as you have very rightly raised, that even when the MNC has to come, they have to concentrate on exporting out. And so, the physical state of our ports, the kind of investment needed. I'm tempted to query you on funding for growth. I know it is a big statement, but in your view, where are the solutions to be able to create the funding for growth? Is it, should it be government led? Should it be private sector led? So far, if we are मौका और दस्तूर दोनों का अगर फायदा उठाना है, तो उसमें फंडिंग की एक इशू आती है. And then I have a couple of other questions, then I will let you go. But what? Haji.
In this case, see, I'll again take you back to the Atal Bihari Vajpayee's regime.
Ji.
It was for the first time that we came out with an idea of public-private partnership
Ji.
and road buildings. And government invested hardly 10,000 crores of rupees, and along with that, 1 lakh crores of rupees were contributed by the private sector.
Ji.
And we could build a huge infrastructure network,
Ji.
especially roads.
Ji.
Golden Quadrilateral is the example we set in. Now, you see, and now after so many years, we find that many of the toll roads are turned into the free roads. Many tolls have been removed, and with the passage of time, more tolls will be removed. Similarly, in case of other infrastructures, including ports, we can build ports with the help of public-private partnership, and but in that case, we must see that there should not be any gold plating, as has happened in case of the airports. The kind of over invoicing, kind of the cost inflation what has been done. They have shown a very high cost of constructing, and that's the reason why Delhi airport has become the costliest airport in the world. It should not happen. So we should have public-private partnership, but honesty, and it should be done honestly. And
Haji, sorry. Please.
What I'm saying is that in case of ports and other infrastructure which are required for our for facilitating our exports, for facilitating our foreign trade, these ports can be built under public-private partnership. And government is a big player in this case, because the land is provided by the government, other permissions are provided by the government, and if the government is also a partner in that, so anybody would be ready to come in, and ports can be built. But in any case, it should not be given to any agency of China, because China has done
हमने श्रीलंका में देख ही लिया.
Yeah, Hambantota and other places, and today all these countries, even Malaysia, has reduced their relationship with China, and I think Italy and other countries will also be now rethinking on the BRI project which they have been taking up. So this infrastructure can be built. We have a lot of domestic capital. We can issue bonds, and port is a place where cost can easily be recovered. There is no reason that cost cannot be recovered. Whenever all these are commercially viable projects, And whenever required, government can also fund. Mm, and government funding is also very important. And infrastructure is basically the duty of the government. But we understand that government cannot finance everything. And if we want to make our country world class and uh, look at our roads, we have done wonderfully good, wonderfully well. So we can do it in case of ports also.
Yeah.
But as I told you, we should not do gold plating exercise. So we should avoid that. So that
रोड्स के किस्से में ये गोल्ड प्लेटिंग की इशू नहीं आई थी सर?
किसमें?
जब रोड्स का जो सारा हमारा था,
रोड्स में नहीं आया, बट एयरपोर्ट्स में आया.
Understood. And kuch had tak, I think this public private, as you said, there are the mix of capability is very, very important. The private sector may bring some degree of institutional capacity, but it has no ability to manage the complexity of land acquisition, etc. They make more of a hash than understood.
You can create SPVs, special purpose vehicles for this purpose.
Yes, understood. You raised the issue of the WTO, sir, and you said that it is time for us also now to you have said it always. अब पूरी दुनिया कह रही है वो अलग बात है, but what are your expectations? What's the relevance of multilateral negotiations now, and what are your expectations from these bodies that have in recent decades been just log jammed? What do you expect? Is it going to are bilaterals the way to go? How any perspective, because I know you are both a thinker and a deep actor in these areas, so please बताएं.
See, if you look at the international trade agreements of the past, we were opposed to the multilateral agreement in the name of WTO. But what happened all these years is that the big gainer of this WTO agreement was either in the first place it was US and US companies, and in the second place it was China. India could not gain much.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of conditions were imposed on India, whether it was in terms of IPR regime or in terms of the quantitative restrictions or in terms of imposing conditions for domestic procurement and so on. But of late, we are of the opinion that once these people have taken the advantage, and now it is our turn to take advantage from WTO agreement, that now we can reach out to the markets of different countries and we can export to these people. Now they want WTO to be dismantled, like US. US is no longer is no longer favoring the WTO. They are going into let the WTO go to hell. We are going for trade war. Let the WTO go to hell. We are withdrawing this, withdrawing that. So they are hell bent upon killing the WTO. But they are still wanting to take the benefit of the moratorium which was imposed under WTO for the free movement of electronic products, not electronic physical products, but the electronic downloads, like whatever you download from Microsoft, whatever you download from any other app store or others. So you make payment, but that is not being taxed in any way. No tariff is imposed. So the country is not the gainer. The government is not getting anything. So this is the moratorium which has been given in the WTO. What we want is that yes, this moratorium should be signed off, and we should be allowed to export goods and at the low tariffs to other countries. But now they are, imposing tariff walls.
Ah,
Uh, so we don't find, and now the 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 basic what you call the soul of WTO is its dispute settlement mechanism,
जी,
and now US is not ready to accept the dispute settlement mechanism. They say dispute settlement mechanism should be written off. If you take away dispute settlement mechanism from WTO,
तो रह
they
क्या
are
गया?
not ready, they are not ready to uh, finance the payment for dispute settlement mechanism. The judges in the DSM. So they don't want to contribute for that, and they want this system to be killed. So if DSM is killed in WTO is just nothing.
It's
Then
nothing.
if you can't impose the
Yeah.
conditions of WTO, so WTO, I don't see any future of WTO given the stance taken by the US, and obviously Europe will also not be in position, and we will also not be in position to really make any change. Therefore, I don't see any future of WTO.
Hmm.
We have always been saying that multilateralism is not going to work. Ultimately, it will fall under its own weight. And second is the regional agreements.
जी,
ASEAN, we was uh, very
Yes.
it caused a lot of havocs, for India, and our deficit with ASEAN countries increased by 3 times
Yeah.
all these years since 2011 when it came, and even in case of bilaterals with Japan, with others, we are not the gainers. Basically, the problem with the system is that we could not really negotiate it in a way it should have been. Uh, like in ASEAN, there was no exit clause and there was no review clause. There's no way. Whenever we make an agreement, even with the individuals, we always say that this agreement will be reviewed after some time. This agreement we can exit from the agreement, but there was no exit and no review clause. Can you believe? And so similar was the case with the bilateral agreements. But Swadeshi Agreement is of the view that bilateralism is a better option in international trade and international relations rather than having multilateral agreements, because in bilaterals you can understand the conditions of the other countries better, they can understand our position better, and we can make mutually benefit agreement. And so if you are able to understand each other, then mutually beneficial agreements can be reached, and that can do good for both the countries and can be win-win situation for all. But if you make multilateral agreements as we have done in case of WTO, or in regional trade agreements like we have done in case of ASEAN, uh, I don't see, and in fact, Swadeshi's argument as since beginning has been saying so, that multilateralism and the regional agreements are not going to do good. So we can do better by making bilateral agreements.
जी,
But
जी,
that has to be mutually beneficial to both, and
To
it
both.
should not be done under any distress, or it should be done not done under any pressure.
Understood. Anyway, it is also a sign of the times, sir, that uh, in a world that is growing slower, and in a world where I think what you have foreseen, it suits India specifically, as you said, our own uh, inability to run negotiations is one element, but equally, I think the one-to-one engagement that you mentioned, it also suits us. I would like to believe, even culturally. And I think the whole world has been able to see, because then everything can come to a stop, or a multilateral institution becomes irrelevant. Either of the two will happen, neither of which is desirable. So understood. अब अभी की बात बताएं, and I know that we're approaching almost 6 o'clock, but if you guide me, sir, when you consider the next 2 years, आपके हिसाब से this pandemic का impact मोटा माटी कितनी देर within for India in specific, and I promise I won't hold you to it. I know that you would have, it is your personal perspective. What do you feel? Is it this year and the next, or do you believe growth will be impacted only this year and we as a nation may actually come out of it better, or is it too early to say?
I couldn't get you because there's some disturbance. Yeah. Can you repeat?
Haji, I was asking that when you consider this year, 2021 for our country, growth clearly dramatically impacted because of COVID, Corona. But what is your expectation, sir? The return to growth cautiously over this year and next, what is your estimate? And which sectors will lead the return?
I think we will go on the growth path much earlier than any other country in the world.
And you say that because
Because we are going to be the gainer in this case, because number one, the other countries are under too much distress, and we have been able to stop this pandemic at a very early stage by taking a very wise and immediate decision when US was just thinking over the after lakhs of uh, lakhs of pandemic infection, but we went on lockdown with only 500 less than 500 cases in the country. We started with the screening when even there was not even a single case in India, and we have been making efforts to contain this infection in a very scientific manner. Though people kept on saying that we are not doing enough testing, but those who were uh, advocating testing, they were the ones, those who have really pushed the whole world into this pandemic, and that is I mean WHO. So we should not have really taken them very seriously, and we didn't. So far as the growth, coming back to the growth is concerned, so this is going to this whole uh, this is the thing which the way we have been able to contain this pandemic, contain this infection, is going to decide about our mm, going on the growth trajectory very fast. And secondly, uh, we we are also going to get support from the rest of the world in the form of more of capital, more of investment. When you see uh, the international investment flows are going to be impacted very badly after this, because the source of investment is generally coming from the developed countries like US and Europe and others, and they are no longer in position to really send more capital outside because of their own compulsion. But India would be gainer because there will be a shifting and relocation of industry, and the industry and India would be a beneficiary of that relocation because this industry is not going to US, this industry is not going to Japan. Japanese industry definitely will go to them, but generally the production centers will not shift to any other country or these developed countries. they are going to come to India, and I think government of India should make efforts, especially in terms of the ease of doing business and infrastructural removal of infrastructural bottlenecks and all other. And you see, the government of India has already initiated this process even much before the pandemic had started. They reduced the corporate tax from 30% to 22%. For the new investments, it is hardly 15%. Nowhere in the world you have these rates of corporate taxes. So we are at the low tax regime now. So given all this, uh, I think the future is ours.
Okay, wonderful. A class cheese, will we always be some states that will be ahead of the others in terms of economic growth and overall prosperity? And I ask this on two parameters, sir. The first is overall, and I know you don't like the word GDP, but I'm saying state domestic product, and equally per capita. Are we always going to have the dissonances we have right now, which are inherent in any large federal country, which is what we are? And is that really a challenge? How do you anticipate? Because I know you think a lot about the future. So this is one element that I think about a lot.
I couldn't get you. What was your initial question?
Ashwini ji, I was saying that when you look at the future, and a country which is a federal nation like ours, will there always be some states that will be economically far more advanced than the others?
That is there. That is there. Radha, if you look at the gap between the richest state and the poorest state, the ratio is 1 to 4.5.
Yes.
I think Bihar and Maharashtra.
Maharashtra.
Sometimes number one state changes, but last state remains the same.
Yeah.
So this ratio is quite high, but that also gives us a challenge and opportunity that these states can be made better off. And we see, as a student of economics, I always see that the rate of growth of many of these backward states have started rising for a big number of years. For about 14 years under Lalu government, Bihar's GDP grew at the rate of -1%. But after Nitish government took over, this jumped to more than 10%. At many times it was 14% also. So they are making up and trying to catch up the growth rates and the level of economic well-being of other countries, other states. And this ratio is also declining. Earlier it used to be 1 to 5, then it became 1 to 4.5. I think latest figures will be even lesser. That gives us a chance also. So we need to take care of these people. We need to take care of these states. Governance has to be improved. And I think our democracy is doing very well. And wherever the states are not performing, the people of the state would expel them. And I think we can do it. Our federal structure is working well. But yes, there are some issues with regard to the central-state financial relations. Today, Government of India is under a lot of stress because of the GST shortfall, which they have to make up. but it's a short-term phenomena, I believe, and ultimately we'll be able to get rid of this problem. Uh, but those states which are not so developed, we need to take care of them, and I think the kind of government in the center and the rule of law which is established in the country, and there are very few countries in the world, like India, where we can move freely. You must have been traveling to many countries, even in the developed countries. Free movement of the people uh, is a big blessing in this country, and it is because of our cultural backgrounds. And you can't move freely in Africa at all. Even in US, many states you can't move very freely uh, in the after the sunset. But we are, so the kind of cultural background we have for to whenever there is normally there is hardly any crime in the villages of the remotest villages, but whenever there is a crime, one has to reach the police station, one has go for 5 hours, 10 hours of walking to
Yeah.
able to reach. So the, therefore we can take pride in our culture, and economically also we are doing well. We need to make more efforts, and the last word I would say, everybody is talking about GDP and everybody is talking about the 5 trillion economy.
Ji.
What I say is that GDP is no
Signal.
is no indicator of the economic development and
Yes.
economic well-being. And this 5 trillion uh, is a is again something which I don't believe in, because already we are at more than 10 trillion economy. We are already more than 10 trillion dollars economy, because if you look at the GDP in terms of the purchasing power parity, we are 10.4 trillion dollars economy.
Ji.
So what we should aspire for is 25 trillion economy. What we should aspire for is at least 20 trillion economy, and this can happen. This can happen, and we have to stabilize the the valuation of rupee also, exchange rate. So the suggestions which I made in the early part of my talk,
Yes.
in that direction only, that if we are more self-reliant, our rupee would become even more stabilized.
जी 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 मैं आपका इशारा समझ गई थी. You can't read, but I have highlighted already over here. When you made that comment, I highlighted already and wrote down rupee, because मैं समझ गई थी कि आप क्या कह रहे थे. Ashwini ji, thank you very much. I know it's 6 o'clock and I kept you talking for more than an hour and a half. Deeply appreciate your time ji. ये राधे बुलंद रहें और अपने देश पे गर्व रहे, तो anything is possible.
It was really a pleasure talking to you. Okay, we'll work together.
Thank you very much. Bless you ji, and we are in touch. Thank you.